Hello everyone, I'm Lady Calamere. I welcome you to my channel and I'm hoping you're doing great. I am doing my 173rd video. It will be on the goddess Aruru, also Ninhursag. So, here's the card of Aruru. And let me give credit where credit is due. It comes from the Babylonian Tarot by Sandra Tabitha Cicero. It's a beautiful card. So, who is Aruru? Aruru is the Babylonian name for Ninhursag, who was originally Ninmah of Sumer. So, these goddesses are pretty much associated with, conflated with each other, where Aruru is the Babylon, and Ninhursag is Sumerian. And she's also the Akkadian Belet Eli. So who is she? Well, first off, she's one of the mother goddesses. She's not, again, to say the mother goddess would be incorrect, because there's, which mother goddess are you talking about? So there's different mother goddesses. She was also thought to be named Ki, K-I. And Ki means earth or a planet. So any name that you hear, like with the name Ki in it, like Iresh Kigal, will either deal, as Iresh Kigal means she of the great below. Anything with the word Ki in it deals with the earth, either on the earth or under the earth, a chthonic deity. So, Ninmah was the original name of Ninhursag until her son Ninurta changed it to Ninhursag. And that was to give her honor for what he did. So, Aruru Ninhursag are earth goddess. They're a goddess of, they deal with pregnancy, fertility, birth, and vegetation. Her planetary association is Venus. Now, if you look at the book Lid Off the Cauldron by Patricia Crother, by the Crothers, in one of the chapters, they state that Aruru is an ancient name and a sacred name of Aphrodite. So they say, oh, these are one of the secrets we're giving out, is that Aphrodite's name was Aruru. Now, I did a presentation on Aphrodite, and I'm not going Aphrodite, and I'm not gonna go say, yeah, they're the same god. The stories are just too far from each other to really say that. And if you believe that all goddesses are one goddess, more power to you. I'm not going to tell you yes, and I'm not going to tell you no. Okay? Because some people believe that all the gods and goddesses are one god. I'm not gonna say no. But as for me, I like to see them as separate entities. Now you see her, she's making a human, because she is one of the deities that are credited for making life on earth. And She's also credited for making Enkidu, not to be considered Enkidu, but this is from the same deck, from Babylonian Tarot by Sandra Tabitha Cicero. And we see Shamhat here, and we see the wild gazelles. So, anyways, the card, and this is perfectly fit, that the tarot card that Aruru Ninhursag is associated with is definitely the Empress. And I'm going to describe why there's a mountain behind her in this presentation. But we have a lot to discuss, so let's get to it. So, Aruru, along with other gods, created human out of clay. She is the one that created men and women in their image. She's the one to give life, the breath of life, and to turn the clay from a lifeless form into us. And she was considered extremely great, but she wasn't as primordial as some people like to make it. Namu is actually the primordial goddess mother. So, and Namu she deals with water. She's an ancient goddess. So she was the lady of the gods, the mother who gave birth to the whole universe. She is also called the mother, the first one. So, but do not confuse Aruru Ninhursag or Ninhursaga with Namu. Aruru Ninhursag is a goddess who is also called Ninbahar, which means the female potter, the lady potter, Potter, because she creates life out of clay and brings life to them. Ninhursaga means Queen of the Mountains. And Ki, of course, means earth, which she was associated with. But as far as the goddess Ki, there is, as far as I know as of now, there hasn't been any archaeological evidence that there was a big cult to Ki, if there was any. It could have been. But, yeah, so she's also was called Mammy as well as Mama, clearly mother. She was called the Lady of the Embryo. Nintur is the lady who gives birth. So if you look at the word tur, T-U-R, which means uterus, and tu, T-U, which means to give birth. So now we've seen a clearer picture of who this goddess is. Nintur, the lady who gives birth. And tu meaning to as birth. And one of the symbols that was associated with her was a uterus. And I should actually get a pen and paper and draw it out. And it was a symbol that was associated with her. Hang on. This is what happens when I don't write notes, because I don't use notes. I hate notes. I won't use it. I don't want to be shown. So, I have my hair up and makeup off, so no, I'm not gonna show myself. Well, I don't have a friggin' paper, so there is a symbol. I should make it bigger. Something like this. And this was like a symbol for the uterus. Now, they would draw a knife. So if you see a knife, terrible knife. Terrible. We'll just draw a knife. So something like this, I guess. So when you see like the sharp object next to it, it meant basically to give birth and to cut the umbilical cord. She was the goddess, also called the goddess of the birthing hut. So as another thing, she was called Damkina, which deals with that she was called the mighty queen of all the gods and goddesses. She was also called Nin Dilmun, the queen of Dilmun. Dilmun in Babylon, okay? In ancient Babylon, okay. Dilmun was equated to the Garden of Eden. The biblical Garden of Eden. So Dilmun was the paradise. So Nin Dilmun meant queen of the paradise. The queen, it's like being a goddess of Eden. She was also called Nimena, which was the lady of the crown, or as well as also known as the diadem. So she is called the lady who gives birth, the lady who creates life, the mighty queen of all the gods. She was also known to be the wife of Enki, Ea. Ea in Babylon, Babylonian, Enki in Sumerian. So, and she had other affairs. Now, she's also at one time was seemed to be extremely powerful until King Hammurabi comes by, and he kind of elevates the gods and starts making the goddesses lesser than the gods. So, and after Hammurabi, more of the rights of women start going. Oh, stop, Joker! Joker, you're gonna cut me open. Okay, sitting on me right. Don't fall off and put your claws in me. I don't like that. That hurts. And you totally drew me off. So, the Trinity. Yes, they had a Trinity. Enlil, Enki, and Anu. Or Ea is Enki, Anu being the sky god. So, I mean, there's even a story about how she even curses Enki. And that when she cursed Enki, she was the only one to heal him. None of the other gods could heal him. Even when he was upon his deathbed, when she fixed the words of curse, the pretty much like an eye of death on him. I mean, it was a terrible curse. Only she can relieve him. None of the other gods, even the great trinity of gods, can relieve him but her. Her animal, she loves animals, but her sacred animal is that of a fox. Anu, Ninhursag, Ninhursaga is very nurturing to the earth and to life and to all of her creation. During the story of Atrahasis, the great flood, she was the one that tried, and that was by Enlil. She was the one to try to persuade him to stop. She is the one who cried for all of life, wanted it to stop. When humanity was drowning, when all life was drowning, Enki was the one to help survivors. He was the one to help life survive. Enlil just got sick of us. We pretty much were waking his ass up, wouldn't let him sleep, were loud, obnoxious, annoying. And Enlil was like, fuck y'all, I'm drowning you bitches. And that's what in the stories he did. But it was Aruru who cried. And after the surviving, those who survived on that ark. And this is, we're not talking about Noah, we're talking about someone else. Noah's a different guy. But when there was a sacrifice of thanks for saving us, Aruru, Ninhursag, protested against Enlil being there. She did not want him there. She was pissed. She said, he's the one who caused this. Why should he be thanked? Thanks for what? Killing my creation, the creation that I love so much, that I've given so much to? And Enlil is her brother, and she did not want him there. But, of course, he was there against her protests. But no, she wasn't happy with him. Ninhursag, Ninma was her name, and Ninurta, her son, who, a little bit about Ninurta, was originally a god of spring, like the summer and spring rains and storms and thunder, but also he was that of the plow and the plowing of fields, which later he becomes a warrior, a war god, and a hero god. So he takes on, as time goes on, he becomes a war god. And what happens is he fights this god, Asag. And I'm not getting off topic here. You'll see what I'm going into. So he fights this demon, Asag. And his army of stone beings. He kills the warriors, and kills Asag and piles them up on a mountain. Right there. And he says, I'm going to dedicate this to my mother who I love so much. I'm going to rename you from Ninma to Ninhursag, meaning queen of the mountain, or a queen of the mountain of bodies, of the stone bodies, and my enemy Asag, who I defeated. Oh, what a great son. Doesn't that just touch you real deep inside? I'll name my mother after a pile of bodies, the enemies I defeated. I'll rename my mother the Queen of Mountains. Well, that's how she got that name. She creates Enkidu, the wild man, as we see here. He's kind of look like a pond figure because of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh wasn't always a great king. In fact, he was a real vile piece of shit. A real Kim Jong-un of his day. And he didn't appreciate his kingdom or his people. He was a tyrant. He was egotistical. He was naive. He was a tyrant. And what he would do is he would harass the young men. And when the young men got married, he demanded to sleep with their brides. He would just take whatever he wanted. And the people cried out for a hero. The people cried out. And they wanted to be saved from Gilgamesh. He wasn't a good king. He was horrible. And we've discussed, like in the Celtic religions in my videos, about when the king goes out of balance with nature, nature kind of acts. And we see the mother nature, Aruru, creating. She gets so angry. She gets a piece, she washes her hands. She takes a piece of clay and she thinks of Anu. And she makes this wild man. And she slaps it, pounds it, and she brings it to life. Now, but Enkidu is wild. He lives in the forest. As we see, 1 foot in the forest and 1 foot in civilization. And he romps around. He plays with the gazelles. He has sex with animals. He eats grass. He's described as a wild man, hairy, shaggy, and we see also horned. We see almost like like he's described as half man, half animal, satyr-like, with goat hooves. But he's a wild man. And one day this hunter keeps finding his traps undone, and he's trying to trap animals. I hear that the hunter was a piece of shit too. So he's tired of it. So he has, of course, devised a plan of Shamhat. Shamhat is a divine prostitute. Yes, look up that up. Divine prostitute. They were like the holy prostitutes. And the plan was to get him to be with Shamhat. Aruru, too, had. Because she had plans for Enkidu. Because she made Enkidu to match wits with Gilgamesh. To match blows with Gilgamesh. To match everything. To be as good as him in everything. She had plans. So, of course, Enkidu sees Shamhat. He's lustful. She brings him to the temple. And after about a week of being with her, Enkidu tries to go back into the forest. But guess what? He's rejected by the animals because he's no longer wild. He's now civilized. Of course, Gilgamesh gets wind of it, and he's not really... There's a story where he has a dream where a meteor, an asteroid, comes down to the ground, and that it's like eventually his life is going to change. However, but he tells his mother about his dream, but he just wants to see this guy. And of course he sees Enkidu as a threat. And Enkidu happens upon Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh is about to rape a woman, and he pushes Gilgamesh away from her, saves the woman, and they get into fights. And every time, every blow that Gilgamesh throws at Enkidu, he's able to block it, and he's able to. They match each other. They're like fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting until they both concede, and then they eventually become companions and best of friends. Now they go on many adventures. They go to the cypress forest, and the cypress forest is the chief demon Humbaba, whom Enkidu and Gilgamesh defeat. Now Gilgamesh, of course, is part divine. He's part human, part god. The gods are not too happy about what happened to Humbaba. And then there's the story about how Inanna Ishtar comes to Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh spurns her, and she gets angry, and of course she throws a hissy fit temper tantrum, and she demands that the bull of heaven, Gogolana, Ereshkigal's husband, be set upon Gilgamesh in the city, and the gods wouldn't allow it. But then she threatened to, burst open, to go down and burst open the underworld and have the, dead come out, and she was gonna do this and do that until she got her way. Of course, Gilgamesh and Enkidu has to fight the Gogolana, and in which they do. They save the city, and in which they tear up the bull, and they even throw one of the hind legs right at Inanna. But, of course, through all this, the Gogolana and the king, the guardian demon of the cypress forest, someone has to pay. To make a long story short, they curse Enkidu. Enkidu lays dying, and as he's laying dying and he's facing his mortality, he curses the hunter. He wants to curse Shamhat, and he's angry at Aruru, and he's just angry. And Enki said, "Hey, listen, don't go around cursing Aruru, and don't curse Shamhat." But he didn't say anything about the hunter. Yeah, you can curse him because he's an asshole. But, But as he died, Gilgamesh was brokenhearted because that's his best bud. That's his ride or die. That's his ride or die buddy. So he goes on. This starts the quest for Gilgamesh, for the quest of immortality, which he never wins in this life. He only becomes immortal after he dies. However, when he realizes he's not going to be able to live forever, he becomes so much of a better king. Enkidu has helped him plenty, but after that he has become a great and wise king. So we see the goddess, because of her interference in her answering the prayer, she changed who Gilgamesh was. She relieved the people of a tyrant. So we see that Aruru in the Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, has a small role, but a very important role. So the goddess Aruru, who many Sumerian kings and Babylonian kings like to refer to Ninhursag Aruru as their mother, and they also like to claim that they are nourished by her milk. So you know how the kings were. Oh yeah, my god is Ra. You know, in Egypt, yeah, I'm the son of Zeus or Zeus or. So Ninhursag is also, and Aruru is also a goddess of love. She also deals with motherhood and women. She cares for so much about life that in the story she even leaves Enki behind, Ea behind, and leaves Dilmun to come to the earth so that she can tend to her creations, to the animals, to nature, to humans. So Ninhursag, temple hymns also call her, identify her as a true and great lady of heaven. There is a story about when the king, when I say that the goddesses start becoming, losing their, because of Hammurabi, losing their power of, you know, after the, so after everything was created and everything was done, there was a great banquet in which Enki and Ninhursag, or Ea and Aruru, were getting drunk, and Aruru was explaining to Enki that, and Enki was actually saying, no matter what you create, I can make better. She said, really? So here we're going to see a story as Aruru Ninhursag being more of a, treating life as a plaything instead of sacred like she did originally. Instead of, she made one human with weak hands. She said, I bet you can't. I said, now what purpose does he have? So Enki thought, and he said, I'll turn the man with the weak hands into a treasurer. Trust the treasurer of the king, because with his hands he can't steal. So she's like, all right. So then she makes a man, a being that has no sex organs. She said, now what purpose does this life has? She said, okay. So Enki's like, okay, let's make him, like, this eunuch, call him a eunuch, and they're gonna be a defender of the king and take care of the king, in which they do. So then she makes a blind man. What use does he have? So he said, oh, he's blind? Well, I'll make him so talented in music that he'll be famous far and wide. So it goes on and on and on till she concedes, because Enki improves every deformity that the human has. So she throws a lump of the clay, and then Enki says, it's my turn. Since, you challenged me, now I'm going to challenge you. So he makes this blob, sort of like my ex. It can't walk, can't feed itself, can't talk, can't hear or see or do anything. Basically as useless as my ex, even though he can see and hear. And makes him totally useless. And she says, I can't do anything with it. It's as if it's not alive. And Enki said, well, I win. And so Enki, of course, now is more powerful, more supreme than Ninhursag. So basically, humans became a game. You know, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do everything better than you. So it's pretty much that's what they did with us. So, yeah, pretty fucked up. So there was actually a time where humans were just playthings for the gods. Now, another thing, oh my god, Joker, stop it. So Enki, ow! Jesus Christ, that hurts. God damn. He freaking put his claws in me. Now, another thing is that Enki has a lot of sexual exploits where Ninhursag and Enki have a child, a daughter, whom she leaves with Enki, and she says, I have to go leave Dilmun and tend to Earth. Enki misses his wife. Then he has an affair with his daughter. And then eventually, so what happened is, okay, so it wasn't a little girl. Let me explain. Ninhursag has a child with Enki, and she enchants the child so that in 9 days she would be an adult. But she looks so much like Ninhursag, who he missed so much, that he had sex with her. Well, she has a daughter, right? And this girl grows up in 9 days. He discards the first daughter and he goes for his other daughter, the second daughter, which is a granddaughter. And he pays attention to her, gets her pregnant. Then she gives birth, and in Utu, not Utu, the sun god, but Uttu, he goes after her when she's 9 days later, when she's an adult. She cries because he doesn't want to pay attention. She says, "Oh, Aruru, Ninhursag." She cries out to Ninma, and of course Ninhursag says, "Take your sperm, take the sperm he put in you, and put it into the ground." And what she does. So these beautiful plants grow. These beautiful, beautiful plants grow. Well, one day, Enki is with his attendant visor Izimud. Izimud is basically represents Gemini. He is a two-faced god, but not saying he's two-faced as being when you call someone two-faced. He's double-headed, one head facing one way and one facing the other. So Izimud, who is also not only a visor but also he's a god, and he is a messenger of Enki and all the other gods, and he's like Hermes, where he can travel very fast, and he acts very fast, and sometimes he comes in place of like Enki, and he gives messages to people when people pray. And Izimud and Enki come upon these plants, and Enki say, "Hey, look at these beautiful plants. Are they edible?" Izimud says, "Sir, they look edible." And he goes, "Okay." So he plucks each plant off the earth, and he eats and he eats and he greedily eats them all. Basically, he ate his children. Well, Ninhursag comes and she sees the children eaten. Now, we don't see her so angry as, her having sex with daughter, granddaughter, so forth and so on. But she's angry that he destroyed a creation. And she said, "You've gone too far, Enki." And she gets angry and she curses him. And basically he ate his seed and he becomes pregnant. But he has no orifice, the proper orifice to give birth. So he's in pain. And not only that, she cursed him with to basically die. And he's sick. He's in labor pain. He can't take it anymore. He's laying on his deathbed. The other gods and goddesses try to heal him. Nothing's being done. He can't get out of pain. He's laying there, and a fox happens to see him. And Enki's crying out in pain, but Aruru will have none of it. Finally, a fox sees him, basically an animal of Ninhursag, and goes to Ninhursag and says, "Enki is in a lot of pain. He's dying, and all the gods are crying. Please help him." So she actually listens to her fox. She comes over to Enki. She said, "Where does it hurt?" And she takes in the pain. And basically, she gives birth to more children. And these children become very, very important. One of them is Nanshi, the goddess of justice, social justice, and I've already discussed who she is. But she's the one who is the only one out of the Trinity and all the other gods and goddesses to be the only one to save the life of the great god Enki, Ea. Only her. No one else can do it. Not Enlil, not Anu, no one. No one. So, Ninhursag, the goddess of the mountains, the goddess of the earth, the goddess of nurturing, the goddess of life. She was originally, at one point in time, only a local goddess. But she eventually grows and grows and grows where she becomes like a national goddess. And as she grows, she absorbs other deities into her. But we see her, this goddess, becoming a great mother, one of the great mothers. So her place is in nature, is in the fields, is in the mountains. She is the goddess of the womb. She is the goddess of the birthing hut. She is the goddess of midwives. Now we can also say she's a goddess of gynecologists and obstetrics. She's the goddess of labor. Of the labor room. She is the goddess of the delivery room in hospital, the delivery ward. She's the goddess of the nursery ward in the hospital. She's the goddess of babies. She is especially she loves babies. So when you think about it, kittens, puppies, cubs, human babies, she loves them. She's also the goddess of the embryo, even before the baby is born. She's the goddess of the fetus. She is the goddess of procreation. She's the goddess of those who create, as she is the goddess of the potter. She is the lady potter, the goddess of pottery. So if you do pottery, if you mold things out of clay, and you know, when you fire up that kiln, just think of Aruru when you create things. When you create things out of clay and ceramics. I mean, Belet Eli means mistress of the gods. So just think of that for a minute. Just let that sink in. Aruru's name means bright mother of the hollow, or bright mother above. She's one of the Anunnaki. Forgot to mention that. Aruru is an Anunnaki, one of the heavenly beings. The 16th day of January, January 16th, is a celebration day for this goddess Aruru. January 16th is associated with her. So that's her sacred day. Aruru is also, she has a connection to the words of the god, the one or the lady who lets the seed flow. And that could be the seed flow from when we think about planting seeds in the ground, and it plants into trees and flowers and wheat, but also the seed of a man to flow into the vagina, up into the uterus, and to create life. What can we give Aruru? Just look at all this here. All the representation, your harvest. As Ninurta was originally the god dealing with the fields, with the rain and the fertile rain and the thunder, to make the life-giving rain, I should say. Now, but he's the plow and the plowing of fields. So crops, give her fruit, give her vegetables, give her sweet wines and sweet drinks, give her water, sweet water, fresh water I should say. Give her, make a loaf of bread, give her some pies and cakes, give her, I mean, even corn wasn't back then, corn was in the Americas, but yes, you can give her corn, you can give her pumpkins and all types of melons and gourds and vegetation, give her nuts and give her beans and walnuts. When you think about nuts, you could even throw in macadamia nuts. Why not? Walnuts, peanuts. I know some of these are not traditional, like avocados, and it's from Mexico, and tomatoes, which was from the Americas, but you can give her that. It's fine. Give her cereal. When you get home with your groceries from the store, you can thank Aruru for allowing you to be able to go to the store and from things that were grown in a farm to your table. Just think about when you're preparing bread. You can think about Aruru. When you're making your meal, whether it's just opening a can of Campbell's soup or making chicken soup from scratch. Maybe you raise your own chickens. Maybe everything that you make came from your personal farm, from your garden, and you put it together. It doesn't matter whether it came from Walmart, Target, or from your garden. You could thank Aruru for that. You can ask her for a safe pregnancy. Ask her for pregnancy. And for healthy children. To bless your children. Aruru was also called for when people were sick. They would pray to Damkina, to Aruru, to Belit Eli, to Ninhursag. When people were sick, whatever, now we think about COVID-19, flus, maybe you were diagnosed with HIV or cancer. There's prayers that they would do to come and to alleviate their sickness, to treat the sickness, to save them from their sickness, from these terrible disease. So the worshippers would cry out. When you feel oppressed, when you feel scared, you can cry out to Aruru. But I'm telling you, if you need to call 911, if you need to get emergency help, call emergency help. Get on that phone, call emergency help, and then you can pray to Aruru. So you can cry. She's a goddess of pleasure, fruitfulness. She's the power of a manifestation of your spells, of the power of the spells and magic of actually manifesting. She is the great feminine power. She is the great feminine divine. She is a goddess of abundance. You could pray to her for abundance. Could be abundance of money. It could be abundance of food. It could be abundance of good jobs, good gigs. It could be she is a goddess of abundance. She is a lady of harmony. She can help you find a good partner for marriage, or just a long-term partner, domestic partnership. She gives luxuries and comforts. So she gives the luxuries and comforts of life, leisures, and she helps have one get privileges, and she's a goddess of love, nurturing love. She can help you to understand nature, to listen to nature, and to take care of nature, to take care of the land. She's the goddess of sound understanding, to know, to deeply know things, to be an understanding, to be open-minded, She's the goddess of resources, of using resources wisely, to invest your money wisely, to be able to ration out your resources if you need to ration it out wisely. She teaches us indulgence, but not to overindulge where we hurt ourselves. She's the goddess of the womb and breast milk. For it says the kings were nurtured by her breast milk. She's the goddess of women and all our issues, and to heal our issues. So just think ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, fibroids in our uterus, problems with menstruation, and going through menopause. For when a girl is transforming into a woman, or our hormones, estrogen, she's a goddess of that. She can help us with breast cancer, cystic breast disease. So I hope you learned some things about this great goddess, Aruru, Belet Eli, Ninhursaga. If you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. If you really like my video, please subscribe. Share my video with your friends and family and your social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever have you, your email, Messenger. I do not have a Patreon account. I'm not asking you for 1 cent, although I love, love, love money, and I can always use more money. It's, what you can give me is just subscribe to my channel. This helps my channel grow. This helps my channel get out to people. So this lets me know that I am doing a good job. Here we have Lilith in the background. But yeah, please spread the word of my channel. Subscribe. And I thank you very much if you've already subscribed. I am appreciative of your subscription. And I will keep on pumping out these videos. And I hope you're smiling. I hope you're doing good now. If you were having a shitty day, I hope you have a good night. I hope you'll have a better day the next day. Thank you so much for watching. Also, give back to nature. Do it in the name of this goddess. You know, if you see filth in the park, but just be careful. If it's something that can hurt you, don't touch it. But, you know, clean up nature, you know, clean up the local beaches. If you see trash laying around, you know, leave it cleaner than it was before you got there. So clean up nature, love Mother Nature, love animals, be kind to animals, feed strays, you know, be they dogs or cats. All because you can't touch them doesn't mean you can't love them. Save an animal if you can. And as always, blessed be